Let's start with the next review. So here there is some opening, and then there is this joseki in the top right corner. And actually in this point, I think it would be good to notice that there is sansan, not hoshi, not komoku, just sansan. And what's the difference? Ladders. Ladders are different. So if we continue as it was played in the game, like this, now black is able to kill this white stone in a ladder. Normally, if we are looking on this joseki in the top right corner, if black is able to kill the stone in a ladder, it should be usually a little bit better for black, because normal move is this one for black, so later white can answer somewhere here, and then black plays elsewhere, and there is more weaknesses in black's shape. But if black is able to kill the stone, then it's very safe, and black is just much stronger. I think it would be more interesting for white to simply take the stone. When black plays Atari, just capturing, just like this. In this situation, black cannot keep the stone in a ladder, black can connect, but that's it, and later white will have center. When white takes the right side, now black is able to kill the stone. I think it should be more interesting for black. Then black played here this move, yeah, very big one, and white played these exchanges and later jumped. This looks like a good move, and I think it is a good move. Just here also it would be good to notice that it might be possible to cut in the future. Black might be able to play something like this, might be possible to cut something out from white. Yeah, it would be just good to have this in mind. Here black already has a stone, so white cannot really harm black's shape very much. White doesn't really have any center moves around, so that black will need to answer, and white cuts black. So white is only able to play some gote move like this. Just it's good to keep in mind that black might be able to cut this in the future. This move, however, to keep everything connected, it's very slow. So like this, black cannot cut, but white doesn't have the speed. So white decided to play this one. Then black played something on the left. Then we get another joseki here in the corner. After this move, for several years in the top players' games, there are some strange things concerned with this connection. So later there is like just one big fight going on in the game. Black can play something like this, then white plays here, or black can play also something like this. Generally it's pretty complicated, but white might be able to attack something from black while playing this kind of move. But white doesn't need to play this now, white can play later. However, if black gets any stones around, then it might be just more difficult for white to escape with these stones. If black gets a stone, for example, somewhere here in this spot, later it might be more difficult for white to connect and have black's groups cut. Similarly, if black gets some stone here, later might be more difficult for white to escape. Yeah, so this was the game. And then black played here to kill the stone. Like black should play something there, I think. If black plays elsewhere, let's say here, then when white escapes, it's actually pretty difficult for black to answer. Black can just come back like this. I think it doesn't feel well. White simply escapes. I think it should be quite comfortable for white. If black tries to play some exchanges in center, white actually is able to play here so that black doesn't finish in center. White doesn't need to come back like this. White is able to play this way. So later it's possible for white to cut in this spot. It's just very difficult for black to kill these two white stones. I think impossible. So here it looks like black should play something in the center. So black did. And now white played here on the right. Here because it's a big move. If black played here in the spot, it's natural move. If there is a stone at the fourth line from opponent, then it's good to play keima on the third line. It's just super big. White didn't want to let black play there, and at the same time, when white gets some stones, it's easier in the future for white to connect and escape. Normally these surrounding stones help in any fight. Just at the same time, black didn't need to come back while playing, for example, this kind of move or this kind of move. If black had to play there, I think it would be a very nice exchange for white. So white gets points and black only connects himself. But here black was able to play this one. I think it's quite nice move, so that now black gets some kind of a wall, black protects this weakness, and black has even one more move in center. So now we can actually assume that this will be played in the future. So it starts to be very difficult for white to escape. So suddenly black got some kind of wall without any problem. Black protected this cut and black got a wall. So black might have here a little bit more influence, more potential than if only protecting this shape while killing these two stones. Now it's possible for black to get a little bit more, so that black gets also some small kind of a wall, protects this cut at the same time, because now it's super difficult for white to fight because black has this extra thickness. And black might be also able to get more territory in this part of the board. Instead, I'm wondering about playing higher so that it's not possible for black to get this kind of wall. If black would play somewhere there, like trying to make some ice, it's anyway not so big deal, because still it's difficult to make there two ice in that part. And this exchange, it helps more white than black. When white is able to escape later with this group, when white is able to connect, I think it just helps white more. Black is suddenly lowered on the second line, and still there are some weaknesses, so that in the future it might be possible anyway to do some problems for black while playing this kind of moves. And after this, now black suddenly got a possibility to be a little bit stronger in the center. And now white played here a move to reduce this moyo. Black played here some interesting move, this attachment. Basically, the reason of playing this move is points. Black was able to take some points away from white. On the other hand, white's shape got a little bit more solid, a little bit stronger. This kind of attachments, if there is some stone around, for example like this what black has here, it just works easier than this kind of attachments to break in some shapes. They just work in a little bit easier way, so that now for white it's just impossible to cut, because black can play Atari, Atari and kill. Then black played here this attachment. I think it's quite interesting move, because normally attachments strengthen opponent. But here, after playing something like this, black takes not so big territory. Here black would like to take a bit more, so it's quite interesting for black to play here, because white anyway is already quite strong. White has here a strong shape, so this extra strength, it doesn't really matter that much for black, that white will be a bit stronger, but when black is able to get these several points extra, I think black should be satisfied. So this was the game. White started to cut. Yeah, this kind of move is generally played there to sacrifice it in the future. I think white is not going to try to make life with this move. Let's say black plays some common move, like just a shape. So now it's very difficult to survive with this stone, but at the same time there are more center moves, more forcing moves for white, so it would be easier to give this to black, this one stone, sacrificing the stone, not making life with this, but getting some center moves around so that black cannot get much more. So for example, after this move, black already needs to answer. After this move, also black needs to answer. It's not so easy for black to play any hane when there is this kind of cut exchanged. Black, however, doesn't want to take small. Black decided to go big. Black is thinking that black can kill white. And at the same time, black creates these kind of weaknesses a little bit more painful, so that it's also possible for black to cut, Atari, or playing from the other side, killing these other two stones. So black has some extra follow-up. When black decided to go bigger to get more points, so white tries to make their life, of course, because why giving big? So we started to have some kind of fight. Yeah, white connected, black answered not to die, white jumped somewhere here, and now black got this kind of center move. Then black played here, and suddenly I think it went quite well for white. White survived. So at the end, black didn't have so many points. I think this is success for white. Instead of this move, maybe black could think about playing an ugly shape, but at the same time white wouldn't be able to get this one in center. So this way I think it could be a bit easier for black to fight in this part of the board, and it's also more points than if black played this move like this. And if we compare this move with this one, when black kills white, this empty triangle gives black a little bit more points. And as it would be territory, this shape is not so important that it's a bad shape, because here would be just territory. Normally, empty triangles in open spaces are very bad, but in areas where it's just cache, just territory, they don't matter that much, as long as it's not possible to cut and kill something there. This way, black just protects this territory, so black doesn't need to play to take less points. Yeah, and here in this situation, white was able to play this kind of exchange in center. Yeah, so here white broke through. Here I think it's also good to notice that how white is escaping. White is playing attachment. Here there's attachment, here there's attachment. It's very nice combo, because normally when we play attachments, opponent gets stronger shape. But here, in the situation, like let's say after these exchanges, black got stronger here, but this extra strength doesn't really matter because white has stones in this area. Black cannot really use this extra power. Here, black got stronger, but white's plan is anyway to connect in the next move, so this extra power doesn't really matter for black. Because anyway, how to use it? Not possible. So in this situation, when white played these kind of attachments, white was able to escape in a fast way. Black got some thickness, some extra power, which is useless. So I think it's a very nice way for white to escape, comparing with, for example, moves like this or like this. Better to play faster because this extra power is useless for black. So later white connected, black played here some strange shape. Actually this shape just doesn't look well, but black wanted to protect these two stones. Yeah, so later white played this kind of move. So white is already kind of alive, I think, with this group in the center. So I think it's a success for white. Here black played this kind of kick. Now when white plays this move like just on the fourth line to go up, we can notice that white is kind of over concentrated, right? White plays very close to these stones, which are already white's. And I'm wondering, maybe it's possible for white to play here to take some territory. For example, here on the second line, like this, white gets a little bit more points, or if black plays this way, white can anyway connect. So white is able to get more points, and this stone in the center, I think it doesn't matter that much because white should anyway survive with this group. I think there is anyway big enough space for white to make life, but like this, white gets a little bit more points. But in the game, white played here, black came back, and now white started to play here something in the center. I feel like it starts to be risky for white while playing here. I think it's not necessary to play this kind of moves because there are some weaknesses in white's shape. Black might think about playing something like this. So black might be able to cut, to separate these two groups. This is some weakness. So if somehow, let's say, white also escapes and white doesn't kill this black group on the right, black also has some attachments here, might be not super easy for black to kill, and at the same time, black kills this in the center, it might be quite risky for white. So I think it's not the time to play this kind of moves now. Because if black cuts, and later black cuts at some point, for example like this, then this stone, it makes this white shape a little bit more heavy, right? Because black can kill a bit more, black can get more in the center. Instead of playing this one, I'm thinking about playing something like this. So that white protects the shape, but after this move, black is able to connect, and here there is all the time some weakness. So all the time black is able to play something there. Just, I feel like it would be also good for white to come back, but when white comes back, later some other moves might be center for black. And because of this, I'm thinking about cutting. Just this kind of cut gives black possibility to, again, try to attack these two stones. Black can still play something like this. So now if black plays these kind of moves, the center is smaller. White, instead of playing this way, white can play this way, and like this white dies smaller with less stones. So I think it would be already more interesting for white if black would decide to cut these two stones in the center, and if black simply comes back like this and white plays this move, then this is not center anymore because this is white center. So like this, white's shape is a bit stronger. It's easier for white to create ice in the situation when this move is center. Because of this, I think this kind of attachment, it would be quite interesting for white. And I think it would be good to play this before making any exchanges in the center, so that black cannot take many points away for himself in the center. So after this, I think this would be just quite interesting exchange, so that white makes life with this group in the center, and I think it would be nice result for white. In the actual game, white jumped. So black played here some exchange, and later black started this attack. So here with every next move, white starts to be more and more heavy. After this exchange, white started to be again heavy. I'm thinking still about coming back, still trying to play here, and even if black tries to cut, just fighting, just trying to resist. Let's say black plays here, maybe white can anyway try to attack this group. Maybe it would be possible to take something, to cut something there. I think it would be still too good to play this way. Or if not this one, then trying to play here so that black cannot cut this white shape. But after these exchanges, white played here something more. So all the time with every exchange, white starts to be more heavy. So if black cuts at any point, black kills more. Later, white played also this exchange and something in the center. It looks like the shape is nice, but actually black was able to cut this one stone. All this group is actually cut. Later there are still some center moves for black. This one. So overall this white shape, I think it doesn't look so nice. Later in the game, white played here these exchanges. It was all center for white. And now white played, in my opinion, an overplay. I think white didn't see that black can play this exchange in center. And because of this exchange, actually it started to be very dangerous for white. So that like this, black doesn't need to come back. White just lost center. While playing this move, white lost center. Now if black plays tenuki, now white cannot cut, because black kills all. So black resisted very well here while playing all these exchanges, and actually because of this kind of exchanges, I think it's just less interesting for white to play this one. Maybe it would be more interesting for white to simply connect, so that after this exchange, after A, black doesn't need to play B or something like this. It's just not center for black. So if this kind of moves are not center, later it might be possible to play something like this to kill something there. Maybe these two stones or these two stones. This is some option for white, like this. But after this one, when it started to be center, so that white needs to come back, and black already connected these two stones, it started to be much more risky for white. So yeah, white played here. Still, instead of this one, white could play, for example, this kind of move. Like this, white protects an eye in this area, and if white plays from the other side and black just comes back, white cannot kill here anything, then white loses a possibility of blocking in the spot in center, so white has less eye space. And white could also play from this side. White could also play like this, so then when white comes back, this is going to be center for white in the future, so it might be even easier to try to make eyes. If black plays like this to destroy this eye, still it might be possible for white to play some moves somewhere here to do some problems for black. And also this kind of move is going to be center, and later it's also possible to play something like this. Now it might look like there is no eye, but if we are looking on this kind of spots, it should be possible to create there some eyes. Yeah. So in the actual game, white played like this, black played here these exchanges. Also, if white simply takes these two stones, black plays here, black gets quite a lot. Earlier, black captured the stone, and suddenly from nothing, black had nothing here, suddenly black starts to have quite many points if white kills these two stones. So white didn't like it, white answered, but like this, yeah, black got center and black started attacking this white group in the center. So white took here an eye in gote. Later there were some exchanges. Yeah, this was the game. And now white needs to struggle while making the second eye. Suddenly, just looking on territory, black already got some stone here, so less points for white on the right. Black got some stone here, so it's possible to kill these two stones already. Black got some territorial profits. Later, white was able to survive. White made life. Just black had to protect own groups. But overall, still I think black got quite nice profit territorially. So that black protected shape here. So even though black lost here several points on the left, this is gone. Black doesn't have these points, but at the same time black was able to protect this one stone. Later here also some endgame. Later black was able to kill this one stone. Black was able to play here. Black was able to kill these two stones. Overall, if looking on points, black got some nice profit while attacking this big group in the center. Yeah, and here, yeah, black can play from the other side, just the score. It should not be a very big problem for white to win the score or just make life with this group, because it's a very big group and there are many cost rates for white, local cost rates to try to cut something. So I think it's impossible for white to die with this big group like this. Simple cost should be big enough to like life. This kind of call means actually that white is alive because of so many costards around. Yeah, so this was the game. Here black couldn't really cut because white is able to cut as well. Yeah, and this was the game. So at the end, white made here another eye on the left. Black now played this kind of exchange. If white answered here, this exchange is not bad for black, but white played here a nice move, so that this move lets white playing another follow-up in center. White has a nice endgame after this move. This kind of move is a follow-up so that later white is able to get this shape on the top. Simply more points for white. So I think this exchange is not necessary. Black could play anyway from the other side in the future, something like this and something like this. It would be center for black, but suddenly because of playing here, the center on the top turned that it was center for white. So yeah, white played here, and I think this move was not so interesting for black. Yeah, so this was the game. It's actually quite close result. So like before, black got all these moves, this one here, this protection here, capturing these stones. White was quite ahead. Now after all these moves started to be quite close. Yeah, so this was the game, and here in the end game, this one, I was wondering why not playing in the spot. I think it's some kind of endgame Tesuji, so that if white connects, later if black, at some point, doesn't need to be now, but if at some point black plays in this spot, after coming back, white will need to play one more time inside own territory. And if white plays here and we go this way, it's not possible for black to play a move here on the first line, so that white will not need to connect anymore in the spot. It's not like normal endgame on first line that like similar like let's say similar like here now. It's not the same. Here this is just 2 points move. Doesn't matter if black or white will play there. Still there's the same continuation. There is basically no continuation in the future. But in this part on the left, if white plays here on the first line, then white protects everything. But if white plays here, black has a possibility to play this move on the first line, and later this kind of move will be center for black, and white will need to also another one stone inside own territory. So black will have point here, and white will not have point here. So it was a close result, and I think this kind of move was important to play for white. Later we've got some endgame moves. Then we had quite many costs. At the end, white wasn't really able to win this one, but white won some other one. Yeah, so there were a lot of cost threats. At some point, yeah, black captured this score, but white just came back. Okay, and later white saw that white suddenly started to have many cost threats, and white decided to take points instead of connecting ko. So instead of coming back here, white just played here. So if black answered, if black didn't play this ko, if black answered, white could just take away the next point and still win this ko. So it was a nice strategy for white not to connect and just taking points, so that like this white could take points and also win this ko anyway. Yeah, so this is actually what happened in the game, and later white won with some small difference. Yeah, this was the game. At the end, white connected this ko and white won. So thank you for your attention, and see you at the next review.